All right. Isaiah. I think it's what? Yashiyahu? Chapter 7. Ashayahu. In the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Yehuda, Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Ramaliah, king of Yisrael, went up to Yerushalayim to war against it, but could not prevail against it. All right. So this sounds like beef within Israel, fighting amongst each other. King of Israel, fighting, went up to Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. Verse 2, David's house was told, quote, Syria is allied with Ephraim.
It's a good point of where Ephraim and Israel's nickname.
Ephraim and Israel?
It's the same.
Okay, that's a good point. My wife is pointing out. For those of you who've been hearing us talk a lot about the two-house restoration topic or theology, this will be a reference to that, where you start seeing the nicknames for the two kingdoms. This is one place where you see it. Ephraim is the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom. And Syria is a Gentile nation, the outsider, so they're joining together with the house of Israel, the northern kingdom, to fight against the southern kingdom, which makes up Judah, Benjamin, and whichever Levites are living amongst them. So that's a good catch. Verse 2, his heart, so the heart of Ephraim, which represents the northern kingdom, his heart trembled. Am I correct? Am I wrong? Yehuda. So his heart trembled. Yehuda's heart trembled, and the heart of his people, as the trees of the forest trembled with the wind. That's pretty deep. How the earth is connected to what goes on in the spiritual realm and with Yahuwah's people. Then Yahuwah said to Isaiah, go out now to meet Ahaz, you and Shear Jashub, your son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool, on the highway of the fuller's field. I'm going to read a different translation, see if this says anything different. Let me try this one. And Yahuwah said to Isaiah, go out now, you and Shear Yashub, your son, and will come across Ahaz at the end of the stream, flowing from the higher pool in the highway of the washerman's field. Interesting. This will be a specific location. Verse 4, tell him, be careful and keep calm. Don't be afraid, neither let your heart be faint because of these two tails of smoking torches, for the fierce anger of Rezin and Syria and of the son of Ramaliah. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Ramaliah have plotted evil against you, against Yehuda, saying, quote, let's go up against Yehuda and tear it up, and let's divide it among ourselves and set up a king within it, even the son of Tabiel. I want to look this up real quick. Tabiel, H2870, it says, Elohim is good. A man whose son was either in the army of Pekah or the army of Rezin, and whom Pekah and Rezin proposed to make king of Israel. And then another one is the officer of the Persian government in Samaria. I don't think that's the one. I think it's the first definition. All right, interesting. I just wondered what the name meant, because it sounds like a good name. Verse 7. This is what the Lord Yahuwah says. It shall not stand, neither shall it happen. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim shall be broken in pieces, so that it shall not be a people. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established. Yahuwah spoke again to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign. Do we have hands? Oh, we got hands. Brother Nate, my bad. Brother Nate, go ahead. What's your number? 619.
No,
Hello?
Then now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Verse 8 there, within 65 years, Ephraim will no longer be a people. I just wanted to connect that into two scriptures, just kind of put it in context. The one is 2 Kings 17:23. It says, verse 22, in the 2 Kings 17:22, and the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They did not turn away from them until Yahuwah removed Israel from his presence, as he spoke by all his servants, the prophets. So Israel was exiled from their land to Assyria, as it is to this day. And the other scripture that I wanted to read on that is Jeremiah 3:8. And I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Israel had committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a certificate of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah, did not fear, but went and committed whoring too. So we see a divorce decree given here within 65 years to be broken as a people. Again, Jeremiah 3:8, it shows that it's given a divorce. And then what I read in 2 Kings 17:23, it says that it was captured by Assyria, as it is to this day. We see the blessing and curses aspect of the 10-tribe kingdom coming from Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus chapter 26. Read it on your own time. And we see that those 10 tribes went through all of the plagues and sins that you see from there. So I know a lot of times people look at the tribe of Judah, and they look at blessing or the curses aspect there. Here we see the curses aspect started here, which is from now. It's approximately 2,700 years ago from our current day in 2018 here. So just wanted to share that and put all that in context.
That was rapid fire, man. Thanks, Nate. We got that on record. For those of you want to go back, pause it, rewind. There was a lot he gave there. Very accurate stuff. I know you went to what was it, 2 Kings and all that. That was good context. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the other one will be the book of Hosea in and of itself. Hosea 1 talks about the word of Yahuwah, verse 1, that came to Hosea the son of Beri in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Yehuda. So these prophets are speaking amongst the same time frames. Mm-hmm. And it says, when Yahuwah spoke at the first by Hosea, go take yourself a wife of prostitution and children of unfaithfulness, for the land commits great adultery, forsaking Yahuwah. And it goes on in verse 6, it says, she conceived again and bore a daughter. Then he said to him, call her Lo Ruhamah, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, that I should in any way pardon them, but I will have mercy on the house of Yehuda, and will save them by Yahuwah, their Elohim, and will not save them by bow or by sword or by battle or chariots or by horses or by horsemen. And then it goes on to 8 and 9 says, now when she weaned Lo Ruhamah, she conceived and bore a son. He said, call his name Lo Ami, for you are not my people and I will not be yours. And then just the rest of the book, Hosea, I think really clarifies a lot of what Isaiah speaks of as well.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Ezzy, I see you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring some clarity, I think, to 7 and 8 before we get too far. So verse 8 says, for the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Retzin. So I looked up in Strong's what Aram is, and Aram is H758, which I think is interesting. It says the same as 759, the Highland, Aram or Syria, and its inhabitant, also the name of a son of Shem. But if you look at 759, it says to be elevated. So because we know how spiritual Isaiah, how deep Isaiah can get. And then Damascus is, it says Aram. So the head of Aram is Damascus. So then in Strong's 1834, Damascus is a city in Syria. But I want to say it also had, hold on, let me go back to 758. Okay, yeah. So Aram means to be elevated, and then Damascus is a city. And then when it goes to the head of Damascus is Rezin, it also says that figuratively Damascus can mean prosperity. In 1834. Oh wait, hold on.
I have in the BDB definition, I don't know what this means, but it says Damascus could mean silent. Silent is the sackcloth weaver. I have no idea what that means. The other one was similar. The other one I had here said exalted for the Aram. Means exalted.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make with the meaning of those words is that the way that it cascades down is that prosperity is the head of the city, and then Rezin is an actual inhabitant of the city of Damascus. So when it says the head of Aram is Damascus, I feel like it's saying that, to be elevated or to be prosperous, that's the beginning of that is taking care of yourself, or you as the inhabitant, you as the being in a certain place within the city, so that the city can then have the blessing of the head of Aram, which would be prosperity. So I just thought it was interesting how it's cascading, how it's going from the top to the bottom, but Retzin is actually the inhabitant, and the other two are certain places or certain or a certain mindset, so to speak.
I see where you're going. Retzin is firm, means firm. And Aram is exalted. So the Aram, Syria's on top, exalted, for the head of Syria is Damascus,
right?
And the head of Damascus is, I don't know what Damascus means. That's the question. But the head of Damascus is Rezin. So that's interesting. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, and from my sense, I think they're talking about the locations. I gotta look into this one. I don't know if it's just like the meaning of the names.
The definition that Damascus is a capital of Aram.
Right, Damascus is the only city. Everything else, well, Aram is it can also be Syria, but the meaning of the word is what I was looking at. The meaning of that particular name. Damascus is an actual city, but Retzin is the name of an inhabitant. That's the name of a person. And Aram can also be a location, but not metaphorically, but figuratively, it can also be used as a mindset as well.
I'm just wondering if it's talking about the exaltation of it, because it's talking about how Ephraim will be a broken people, and Ephraim is linking up with Syria. So I don't see a barakah from Yahuwah here. I guess that's where I got to look into this. Like I said, these kind of get me. I got to take time.
Maybe these Gentile nations are prosperous for whatever reason, and Ephraim is joining with them, but Ephraim's not going to be able to partake in prosperity. They're going to fail because they're not supposed to be teaming up with this wicked nation. Anyway, I see Christopher's hand up as well. No, you're good? Good? Okay. Ameka?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I raised it a little too early. I'll wait till we get to the next part.
All right, sounds good. Let's go back to the reading. That was good though. Good discussion. Refresh my memory with some things. 10. Yahuwah spoke again to Ahaz, saying, "Ask a sign of Yahuwah your Elohim. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I won't ask. I won't tempt Yahuwah. Verse 13, he said, listen now, house of David. Is it not enough for you to try the patience of men, that you will try the patience of my Elohim also? Therefore, let's see, I don't know if this is Yahuwah. You have Yahuwah in your passages for 14. I have Yahuwah himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin will conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, which means Elohim with us. He shall eat butter. Oh, we got a hand. JP.
So this has been something on my mind, because here we're getting his name as our Messiah's name, Emmanuel. So I've been kind of like just going over this myself and just kind of like, is this I'm not trying to debate or nothing. I'm just trying to get into my mindset and say, okay, this is the Hebrew. This is the Hebrew. So, I know we've come to conclude that his name is Yahusha, as he comes through the Father. But here we're also seeing his name as Emmanuel. So I don't know if anybody else has ever thought like that and had that. I'm sure there has been, but I'm just kind of like conflicted right now with this and calling his name Emmanuel also. So.
Yeah, I'll speak into that a little bit. I think the phrase shall call his name is the distinction between his name shall be. I think there's a difference. So when you're saying and shall call his name, this is more representing his reputation, who he is, what he is, not necessarily a name that he's given as in like, that's what birth name, that's what people are going to call him. So he carried the identity. That's who he was. He was Elohim with us. But his name that he was given by his parents was Yahusha, which is all this. It's the same. It's all related, but it's Yah saves. So that would be my explanation, because I've heard that argument as well. It trips people up, and they're like, "Oh, the real name should be Emmanuel," and then next thing you know, they're replacing Yahusha with Emmanuel in the New Testament, and it's not there for a reason. I think it was supposed to be representative of a characteristic of who he is, his identity. Go ahead.
I agree. The reason I agree with that is because in Isaiah or Yeshayahu 9:6, which we'll eventually get to, it says, "For to us the child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. His name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty Elohim, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." And we know that his name is not Prince of Peace, Everlasting Father. They could have translated these into Hebrew, like the actual Hebrew words. I don't know why they just chose to pull out Emmanuel. Versus saying his name will be called Abba, and his name will be called you get what I'm trying to say? So I think that's where the confusion comes from, because we're taking the Hebrew word from the character to the name. And that's where I think the rest of the scripture, when it actually relays his name to being Yahusha, or when the high priest, where is that in?
Zechariah?
Zechariah? I would have to find that. But so yeah, I agree with my husband. I believe this isn't more in the aspects of what his characteristics will be, because we do see another place where prophecy says his name shall be this, and we don't call him those names, quote unquote names either. So that's kind of where I get my clarity from. I don't know where the other one is, but
Christopher, go ahead, brother.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak as well in your fellowship. I do appreciate that. I do value the opportunity, and I don't want to speak anything to bring in leaven, so I'll be very concise. I like what Nathan was saying. Whenever I approach reading the prophets, I try to remember the bigger context of the prophets being if you will, the prosecutors. They bring a charge against Israel for their disobedience to the Torah. And I think that's very important because you find the prophets constantly reminding Israel on different levels of their lack of trust in Yahuwah's word and his law. And that's why the curses come upon them. So I think verse 19 is a very, verse 9 is a very pivotal verse in this text because it speaks to Ahaz's faith. It introduced to us that if you're going to see the salvation of Yahuwah, you have to have faith to believe and trust him. And Ephraim have disobeyed the law or Torah by putting their trust in the same king who will eventually enslave them. It's amazing. And so Nathan brings a very powerful point to the text by reminding us that Isaiah is bringing a charge against the king of Israel for his lack of faith and his partnering with a corrupt and evil, idolatrous nation. And so I just wanted to bring that out. Faith is so pivotal, even in old, quote unquote, Old Testament times. Even Habakkuk said, that, the just shall live by faith. Those who will be justified will live by faith. And so in this case, I believe Yahuwah is teaching Ahaz through the prophet Isaiah, trust me, or suffer the consequences of a rebellious, northern kingdom.
Excellent. Well said. Thank you, Christopher, for bringing that to the table. Brother Nate, I see your hand is up again. Go ahead.
Just going to share what Milo said. You can hear me? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Luke 131. And this is an angel or a malach talking here to Miriam. Luke 131. And see, you shall conceive in your womb and shall give birth to a son and call his name Yahusha, or the Greek word there is G2424, which is where we would, get the name Jesus, or more accurately in English, Joshua. So here you just see that he told them that name specifically, as it does say Emmanuel in a couple other, in another place in the New Testament, but specifically it says this name here. So I like what the point that you brought up about, everlasting Father, and call his name, I forget all the other stuff that's there, but I just wanted to add to that.
Praise Yah. Thank you, Nate. All right. With that, let's continue. Just some let me do some cross references. Matthew 1:23. Get some context here. Verse 22, Matthew 1:22. Now all this has happened that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Yahuwah through the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall give birth to a son. They shall call his name Emmanuel, which is being interpreted Elohim with us. And then the other one is Luke 1:31. See if you can catch the difference. Behold, you will conceive in your womb and give birth to a son and shall name him Yahusha. So it doesn't say, and he shall be called. It says, you shall name him. So there's a difference. So his name is Yahusha, but he's called Emmanuel with us, because that's who he is. All right. Verse 15. He shall eat butter and honey when he knows to refuse the evil and choose the good. Okay. I don't really understand the symbology of that. I see Emeka's hand is up. I'll get to that. I don't understand the symbology of eating butter, I think, and honey. It sounds like a good thing, a great thing. Israel was supposed to be the land flowing with milk and honey. So I guess that's being partaking of blessings for refusing to do evil. We know that Yahusha was tempted in every way and never gave in to the temptation, which makes him sinless. Emeka, go ahead. What you got?
All right. So On the butter and honey, the butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. If we go into Revelation, let me see. I was just there. Let me find it real quick. If we go into Revelations chapter,
I'll pause the recording real quick.
all right. So if you go into Revelations chapter 10, verse 9, it says, and I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little heifer. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make your belly bitter, but it shall be in your mouth sweet as honey. So the honey they're mentioning there is the scriptures and the scrolls, and that Yahushua is he's gonna read the scriptures and scrolls so that he knows how to live properly without and how to resist evil. So the honey, the butter and honey is referring to the scriptures.
All right. Okay, brother. Very nice. Appreciate that. All right, let's keep reading. Verse 16. For before the child knows to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose two kings you abhor shall be forsaken. So Ephraim will be gone. They will not be a nation, which is true. By the time Yahushua was born, the only kingdom that was in the land was the kingdom of Judah. All right.
You know what's so interesting about this prophecy? Yeshua was saying, okay, this will be the sign, but clearly this king was not able to see the sign. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he couldn't test this sign years later. Passes. I just think it's very interesting. I'm open. It was just a thought that.
Yeah, no, I'm open. I'm open if there's other fulfillment of prophecy other than, because I'm a big believer that there's multiple prophecies many times with the prophets, and I'm very open to see if there was a earlier fulfillment of this prophecy. But it doesn't negate the prophecy of Yahushua, which is where some Old Testament only Israelites will try to stump our brothers and sisters with these passages. But Brother Chris, I'm gonna let you go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to say that there is an immediate context to this prophecy, meaning literally there was born a young man whose name would be called Emmanuel. And it speaks of his age of consciousness to be able to choose good and evil. Before he's mature enough to make that decision, Israel would be done with. The judgment of Yah will come upon them. So the ones they're partnering with is going to enslave them. So there's an immediate context, and then there's a future context that the prophecies often, communicate to us as the readers, that there's an immediate context, but there's also that spiritual future fulfillment of it.
Do you have any cross references for the immediate one for Emmanuel?
Yeah, if you could put me on mute and then I'll raise my hand again.
Alrighty. Thank you, brother. Somebody else raise their hand and put it down? No? All right. With that, I'm going to pause. Brother Christopher, so you got that those passages?
So I'm reading the cross-reference text now to make sure I'm accurate with that verse. To an immediate.
All right, I'm recording. So you were referencing Isaiah chapter 8, probably verses 1 to 8.
Yes.
And so you're reading some commentary, and it's saying that some scholars.
Some
scholars.
That the immediate context, there's definitely a future context.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay. Yeah.
But some are saying this could be regarding the son of Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sons, was it?
Mashal, Maher Shalal Hasbaz would be the son of Isaiah the prophet.
And that name seems to be quick to the plunder, swift to the prey in Hebrew. And I will take for myself faithful witnesses to testify. I know we're going ahead of the chapter reading, but this is connecting with the Emmanuel in chapter 7 or in chapter 6.
No, chapter 7.
7? Oh, yeah, we're in 7. Okay, so chapter 7. Verse 2, 8:2. And I will take for myself faithful witnesses to testify, Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Yeberechiah. I went to the prophets, and she conceived. I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. Okay, that sounds pretty immediate. I don't know if Mary was ever considered a prophetess. I don't see scripture to say she was a prophetess. It says, then Yahuwah said to me, call his name Maher Shal Hashbaz. Again, which means quick to plunder, swift to prey. For before the child knows how to say, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the plunder of Samaria will be carried away by the king of Assyria.
Mm-hmm.
Yahuwah, so it sounds similar to the Emmanuel one, where before he knows to do good. Or verse 5, Yahuwah spoke to me yet again, saying, because, quote, because this people has refused the waters of Shiloah that go softly and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son. Now, therefore, behold, Yahuwah, or the Lord, brings upon them the mighty flood waters of the river, the king of Assyria, and all his glory. It will come up over all its channels and go over all its banks. It will sweep onward into Yehuda. It will overflow and pass through. It will reach even to the neck. The stretching out of its wing will fill the width of your land, Emmanuel. I don't understand where the Emmanuel fits in at the end of that. The width of your land, Emmanuel. So I guess some people are saying this is Emmanuel a king of the land? Is he going to be a king of the land? Is he a prophet of the land? Or
see, and just from what I see, Emmanuel takes on the persons of Judah. Yah is still with Judah. Yah's will. So it's like he's giving the name Emmanuel the personage of Judah. Judah, he's warning everyone that judgment is coming.
Even to Judah, it sounds like here. Sounds like judgment is coming to the kingdom of Yehuda.
And we know this happens. We look back at it retrospectively. We know judgment comes for both the north and the south. Assyria is conquered by the Assyrians, or Syria is conquered by the Assyrians along with Samaria or Israel. And then we have the Chaldeans or Babylon in the future conquering Judah.
Yep. All right.
Isaiah has this global perspective through the Ruach HaKodesh to see judgment for both kingdoms.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Interesting. Thanks for bringing that up. That's the first time I heard this.
Yeah. I haven't ever connected those two to
Right on.
7.
All right, let's go back to chapter 7, and let's go to verse 16. All right, verse 16. For before the child knows to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose two kings you abhor shall be forsaken. That's what happened in 8.
Yeah.
You see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 8, verse whatever it was.
And virgin, not
plundered.
being a virgin, but being a virgin as in being a maid. Well, then that's what people say, young woman type of thing.
Maiden. Yeah, some people say it's not a virgin maiden. I believe
I think Mary was a virgin, yes,
Virgin.
but talking about this prophetess, I think it was probably
one of the apostles, who was it that had daughters that were prophetess? Okay, they weren't married yet. Oh, I don't know if they were married, but I assume that's an assumption. So I guess I can't really use that. I was trying to go with, virgin. And I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, verse 16. The land being forsaken. Verse 17. Yahuwah will bring on you, on your people, and on your father's house days that have not come. From the day that Ephraim, which represents Yisrael, departed from Yahudah, even the king of Assyria. It will happen in that day that Yahuwah will whistle for the fly that is in the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. They shall come and shall all rest in the desolate valleys, in the clefts of the rocks, on all thorn hedges, and on all pastures. In that day, is this Yahuwah in verse 20? The Lord. Okay, it's probably Adonai. In that day, the Lord will shave with a razor that is hired in the parts beyond the river, even with the king of Assyria, the head of the hair of the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. Okay, a lot of metaphor, poetic language here going on. Whatever it is, it's not good. There's some bad stuff happening. There's demolishment, plundering. We heard natural disasters in chapter 8, some kind of flood. That could be symbolic for any kind of disaster, really. Who knows? Verse 21, it shall happen in that day that a man shall keep alive a young cow and 2 sheep. It shall happen that because of the abundance of milk which they shall give, he shall eat butter. For everyone will eat butter and honey that is left within the land. It will happen in that day that every place where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silver shekels shall be for barriers or briers and thorns. I have something, a little note over here. It says a shekel is about 10 grams or about 0.35 ounces. So 1,000 shekels is about 10 kilograms or 22 pounds of silver. Got it. Verse 24, people will go there with arrows and with bow, because all the land will be briars and thorns. I'm sorry, for my personal self, I need to look up briars. Another translation says full of blackberries. I don't know how accurate that is. Let's see. Bramble. Another translation. I'm going to look up the Hebrew. Just for myself. I hate reading stuff I don't understand what it's saying. H8068. Thorns, adamant, flint, thorn bushes. Perhaps a diamond even is at the bottom. Can't be that. Nope, that's all I got for that. All right. Last verse. Verse 25. All the hills that were cultivated with the hoe. Is that a rabbit?
No, it's a garden tool.
Oh, the tool. Is that to cut the farm tool to chisel or something? Sickle? Like a sickle, probably?
Yeah, actually. Some say mattock, which is, it's like a...
All the hills that were cultivated with this tool, you shall not come there for fear of briars and thorns, but it shall be for the sending out of oxen and for the sheep to tread on.
That's what we have nowadays.
Oh no, that's not a chisel. I mean, that's not a sickle. That's different.
It has double side, so it depends on what they're.
Alrighty, now chapter 8. Chris, do you want? Oh, Nate has something to say. Brother Nate. Chris, I will let you read chapter 8 if you'd like. Okay. Nate, go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me? Yes? Yeah. Okay, so I see some stuff here, metaphorically. One where he talks about Isaiah 7:20, where he talks about shall shave with a razor, the head, the hair, the legs, and also remove the beard. That speaks to me of Ezekiel chapter 4, where he was told to remove a third of his hair or shave it all off, and a third goes to the fire, and a third is blown to the wind. I believe that represents people being scattered by the wind. Because the context that you have here is basically Ephraim is no.
Real quick, I
Yes?
think that's chapter 5, just for the recording. Ezekiel 5, 1-4, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at it.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, good. No, I just wanted just for the audience. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, through the whole thing is to read the whole thing in context. Ezekiel chapter 1, he has the vision, and then in 3:16, Ezekiel 3:16, it's 7 days after that, and then from 3:16 to chapter 8:1, he basically has to lay on his left side for 390 days and his right side for 40 days, a day for a year. That's Ezekiel 4:5 and 4:6. And then in 5, yeah, thank you, where he has to shave off. So you see like a scattering here, is what I see. Talking about the bramble, and the thorn bushes, what that reminds me of, let me get this pulled up here. I thought I got a bunch of pages open. Matthew chapter 13, about the seeds that are being spread, and then Messiah, he gives a depiction, or he answers what the parable means about the seed that's thrown among the thorns. So Matthew 13:22, he says that sown among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the worry of this age and deceit of riches choke the word, and it becomes fruitless. So I kind of see some of that aspect there. I think maybe the talking of the hoe would maybe represent people that are doing cultivation work, to where, like in verse 7, Isaiah 7:25, and all the hills which were tilled with the hoe, you do not go for fear of the thorn bushes and weeds. I think I'm getting a little bit off where I want to go. Let me just kind of shift into something more relevant. I wanted to talk about where is it at? Verse 17. Yahuwah brings on you and your people and your father's house days that have not come since the day that Ephraim turned away from Yehuda, the sovereign of Assyria. We know that the sins of Jeroboam, making the 2 golden calves, and the reason why he did it was because he was scared that the 10 tribe people were going to go back to worship in Jerusalem 3 times a year, as Deuteronomy 16:16 says. And so he created a false religious system. So we see that Ephraim turning away from Yehuda, the two kingdoms turning away, and Emmanuel, which is a direct result, Messiah coming, which is the prophecy that is given. The last scripture that I wanted to share with that was in Ephesians chapter 2. I have it pulled up. Let me just find where I want to start. Because again, we see a scattering. What I was trying to get at is in Isaiah 7, we see a scattering of the people. Ephraim is no longer going to be a people. You see both kings getting pulled away, and then you see Emmanuel being given as a prophecy after Ephraim is told within 65 years is no longer going to be a people. And we see in Ephesians chapter 2. it says that, verse 13, but now in Messiah Yahusha, you who brought once were far off, having been brought near by the blood of Messiah, for he is our peace, who has made both one. I believe he's talking about the two kingdoms, both one, having broken down the partition of the barrier, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the Torah of the commands and dogma, that's man-made, which is what the sin of Jeroboam is, so as to create in himself one renewed man from the two, thus making peace, and to completely restore to favor both of them unto Elohim in one body, through the stake, having destroyed the enmity by it. So I just see here, you know, the fact of Emmanuel bringing both houses back together. So you see, you know, in 7:9 it says, or 7:8, that Ephraim is broken apart, and then you see the fix to the problem, which is Emmanuel, which we know as Yahusha, which is going to bring the two houses back together again. So I know it got a little bit long-winded, and but I believe that's what is being spoken of here, and you know, from what I see.
Right on, brother Nate. Thank you, bro. Hey, man, I got to give you a lot of credit, man, for trying to hit up a lot of this stuff, because like I said, man, Isaiah and these prophets sometimes is really complicated. So I'll give you kudos, man, for giving it a shot. Some good stuff you brought up there. You know, you want to say anything or no?
No, I liked a lot of the stuff. I think Ephesians talk about Gentiles of the flesh when we look at it, because they're called the uncircumcision. So I don't think that part was talking about the two-house restoration. But yeah, so no, there's a lot to digest from there. I know John has something.
I think some people would say that the lost tribes of Israel would almost symbolically become Gentiles of the flesh, because they were cut off of covenant with Yahuwah, which was prophesied in Hosea. You shall be not my people. I think it's Ruhamah or Loama and Ruama is one of them. Loami, whatever. But I think that some people take Ephesians 2 that way. That's why they put the house of Israel, or Ephraim, the northern kingdom, in the same category as the Gentiles, both outside of covenant, while Yehuda was, you know, the favored people of Yahuwah, and they still were, at least had the identity of the culture and the faith. That's why they were in the land. That's how some people take it. But I get what you're saying too. Contextually, Ephesians seems to be talking about physical Gentiles of the flesh. And really, there are probably three categories. There's physical Gentiles of the flesh, Israelites who are physical Israelites but are cut off of covenant, and then Israelites who are in covenant and obedient. You know, so you got three different categories. So, but good discussion. Nate, do you want to respond to that? I see your hands up.
Yeah. The word that is found there in Ephesians. Let me just. I got so many pages open. Just give me a second here. In like say Ephesians 2:11, the word that is found there for uncircumcision, right? Let's first go to circumcision. G4061, peritome, and the word found there for uncircumcision is akrobustia. As we know in Greek, the letter A in front of a word means the opposite of. So like to muse on something is to think, and to be amused is to not think, right? That's where we get amusement, is not to think, it's entertainment. So peritome, which is circumcision, and the opposite, which is used in some places in scriptures, aperitome, would be never been circumcised. Now, one look at this, and there is some debate, and I suggest to do some research on that word akrobustia, is that the word akrobustia, because they didn't use the word aperitome there, but they used the word akrobustia, one way of looking at it is that whenever that word akrobustia is used, one way of translating it as those who were once circumcised but threw their circumcision away. There's some deeper stuff on that word akrobustia, so that's one of the reasons why I think that making two one flesh would be those who threw their circumcision away, which would be the 10-tribe kingdom, and those who are a peritome, who still are circumcised in a metaphorical aspect. That's the only reason why I would think that Ephesians 2 is talking about the 12 tribes there. And we know that, just as all 12 tribes were brought out of Egypt and a mixed multitude came and joined with them, I don't know if that would be the Gentiles, but that's probably for another discussion.
All right, Nate. Thank you for sharing, bro. Joan, you're up next.
Okay, I wanted to take a shot at it, but I don't know now. Nate, okay, we'll see. We'll see what I come up with. In verse 20, I think I really do see where he's coming from, but I'm gonna take a shot at it. What I see is this razor that's hired by Yah. So he's gonna use this razor to shave, but it says namely by them. So I realize that this quote unquote razor is actually a person or a people that live beyond the river. And then he says by the king of Assyria. So that leads me to believe this is who he's talking about. And then he goes on to say what he's going to do. So I'm thinking that he is, I'm just kind of agreeing with him. I don't know if I'm agreeing with him or not, but it sounds like he's right.
Joan, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I'm seeing it.
Okay.
That was good. Wow, I actually see that. I see it.
Okay.
It. Good job. Wow.
Thank you. Shalom.
Shalom. Praise Yah. Yeah, it's definitely talking about a people teaming up with Assyria, which is contextually, that's what we've been talking about. Or is Assyria? Yeah. I mean, but that's what we're talking. We got a lot of teaming up going on here against Yahuwah's people. Ephraim teaming up with the Gentiles, going against Yahudah. Very interesting. That was pretty good. I like it. All right, we're going to conclude there. 2 chapters. I think it's a long enough video. I don't know how long this recording is, but that was chapter 6 and 7. Shalom.